The Charge Blade, one of the most technical weapons in all of Monster Hunter to master, but man is it really fun in Monster Hunter Wilds. Although the gameplay loop did change slightly from Rise and World, it is still a ton of fun, so certainly hope you check it out. I'm Ronan, welcome to my guide. Hey guys, before we break this video down, I do want to state I was very hard on the Charge Blade in previous videos. Now that I got used to the actual gameplay loop for Wild Charge Blade compared to Rise and World, it's a ton of fun. We're going to go over basics and some more in-depth things. Don't get discouraged. There is a lot to this weapon, so if you don't understand it right away, that's totally fine. Practice makes perfect. Starting out, take a look at your UI. In the top left corner, you have your Phials, which are the little bottles, which is the bread and butter of how you do extra damage with this weapon. You have the axe form, which is the Savage Axe or Power Axe mode. You have the Power Shield mode, and you have the sword icon, which is for the Elemental Sword mode. There are going to be two types of Phials you can use depending on your weapon in game. You have Elemental Phials, which are Phials that do additional elemental damage. So if you have fire on your weapon and you also have elemental weapon Phials, it does additional fire damage. If you have Impact Phials, the other Phials, your attacks will do additional impact damage and exhaust, meaning you can have the enemy become slower and tired quicker, and you have the ability to KO the enemy, which normally only blunt weapons like the hunting horn or the hammer normally do. In Wilds, they added the perfect block system. This is important to know because perfect blocking means you block right when the enemy is about to hit you. This will significantly reduce the amount of damage, knockback, and stamina usage you would normally have when blocking regularly. This is also important because you can use a perfect block as a way to turn into Savage mode. And we'll talk about that more later on. Now, this is important though for blocking. Take a look at my shield. If I do a regular 3-hit combo, you can see the shield glows white. That's called a guard point. Guard points are when you automatically guard against the enemy's attack, but it does not count as a perfect block. Even when I go to my axe mode, when I switch it out, you see the white on my shield and weapon, that automatically blocks. Even just the 3-hit combo, it blocks. If I do a fade slash, you can see the white on my shield, automatic blocks. Very important because it really ups your survivability. Now, before we get into the bread and butter of like how all this interacts with each other, let's talk about combos for the sword and shield mode of the Charge Blade. Your main attack ability is going to be the B or O button if you're on PlayStation. Hold it down, and you can see if I hold it down too long, it messes up. And if I tap it, it also doesn't do as much damage as it should. I'm going to let go right when the gauge flashes. You see how the weapon just flashes? That's when you know you're good to go, and it does a charge double slash. This can be comboed into other things. Now, one thing I want to point out is the fade slash. You use that by hitting a direction button on your controller after attacking, and you do a slide and a attack. This is really important because this will allow you to move during combat without putting your weapon away. So say you do a basic 3-hit combo hitting the Y button 3 times. You get the perfect guard. Well, you could do it twice, and instead of guarding, maybe you want to dive through the monster. Maybe you want to dive backwards. The fade slash is really, really strong, so definitely add it to your combos. You can use it after 1 hit or 2, but if you do the 3-hit combo and then use it, there's a slight delay, so keep that in mind, but you can still use it. Now also, you can add shield thrust attacks as well by hitting Y and B after attacking. So I hold the button down, Y and B, and I attack with my shield. You can combo that up into other things as well. And now I'm in axe mode. So basically, if you hit Y and B after using a shield thrust, you will go into axe mode. And we'll talk about the importance of that in a minute. You can easily switch to axe mode by hitting the triangle or Y button and block button at the same time, which is right trigger. Now in axe mode, you basically have a few different attacks you can do. The Y buttons are more for like positional things. You can hit left and Y and you can see you move over, get your backstab. It's really important to be able to just like move, which is really nice because you are really slow in axe mode, so having the ability just to move slightly like that is really important. And of course, you have your focus mode, which helps aim your attacks as well. And of course, you have the B button, or circle in PlayStation, which is your elemental discharge, which uses your Phials. So let's go ahead and talk about Phials now. So we're going to go ahead and get those up right now. Now you can see they're glowing yellow. When they glow yellow, if you hit your block and B button at the same time, or circle, you actually store the Phials. However, I only stored 3 out of 5 because they were glowing yellow. You really want to store them when you're glowing red because of the ability to store all of them at once, and certain abilities later on in game on armor may change that. Let's go ahead and get this red. Now the reason I'm going to show red is something really important. You can see they're red and I have some Phials stored already. If I go to store them now, you can see some of my Phials are overcharged. The overcharged Phials are really important because overcharged Phials, not only will they give you increased damage, but they give you increased effects as well for other things that use the Phials. So if I want to amp my shield, I have to put my Phials into my shield. It makes your shield stronger and it lasts longer. So let's go ahead and do that now. There's 2 ways to do it. You can hold the same way you basically add Phials to your weapon to store it, just hold the B button down. And you can see I punch forward and now my shield's glowing red, showing it is amped up. Another way to do it is through an attack combo. So let's go ahead and get some Phials. Let's just do yellow for this. So we're going to do an attack, shield thrust, then I hit right trigger, and because I use right trigger, it goes into my shield. Now, the reason you want your shield, besides having better defenses, it increases your attacks of your axe mode. Now, we're going to get some Phials so I can show the difference between regular axe and savage axe mode, because there is a huge difference. Now, you can see I just did a Phial attack. And one thing you can do after storing your Phials is hit B by tapping it, and you switch into axe mode for an axe elemental discharge, but it used a Phial. I can hit my attack with Y. It doesn't use any Phials, but if you use the B button, it will use Phials for extra damage. And I just KO'd the monster, as you can see from the impact Phials. You can hit Y and B at the same time, and then you can follow that up by hitting it again for a super amp discharge, which will use all remaining Phials. Another thing you can do, however, which is really fun, and one of my favorite combos later on, let's go ahead and get here. We'll switch to axe mode normally. So say you really just want to do big damage when the monster's down and your window's somewhat short. So go ahead, hit Y and B. Hit B. Hit Y and B again. Super amp discharge. So you do some really good damage and it's really cool looking. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to charge up your sword. You can see my shield's already charged and I have no Phials stored. The same way you would actually charge your shield by holding the B button down, but instead hold the Y button. And now my sword is now in an amp state and will do additional damage. And because I have impact Phials on, it counts as impact damage. So how do we get to Savage Axe mode? Well, Savage Axe mode gives you a few different ways to do it. You can do it by doing a mount finisher on the enemy. You can do it by attacking a weak point on the enemy, which looks like that little red icon or weak spots. You can do it from a monster clash when you're blocking, which is really strong, and hitting the Y button afterwards. And you can do it by perfect guarding. So let's go ahead and show what that looks like here. So if you hold the button down and then hit Y, you go into an axe attack, but I'm not in Savage Axe mode. That's the mode we want. So we'll go ahead, perfect guard it. Now hit Y, you can see I am in Savage Axe. So when I attack the enemy and I hold the buttons down, it does a really cool chainsaw attack. Look at all that extra damage you do. It's really, really strong. And I'm in Savage Axe. You can see I have the blue bar going and I have my axe mode going. Did you notice something about my Phials? None of them went away. If I put my weapon away as well, guess what? I can easily go back into axe mode, and I still have it in basically the Savage Axe Chainsaw mode. So even if you need to put the weapon away, if you need to block and go to sword and shield, it's totally okay. So let's go ahead and get our shield back up. I'm simply just going to show you a fun combo if you already have it set up. So get your files going. And when you're ready to do a big burst, tap B afterwards. And you can just instantly go into what you need to do. YB. All kinds of cool things you can do with it. Into B. Into the super amp discharge. Like it's so freaking cool. I absolutely love this weapon. And that's basically, you know, everything you need to know about the weapon. Obviously, there's other guard points that you want to practice later on when you really get used to it. But for the most part, those are the basics of the weapon. Hopefully, I explained things well. If you have any questions, definitely comment down below, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Anytime you have your axe mode up, though, you can easily switch simply Y and right trigger, and you already have it going. Hold your attack buttons down, and you got that awesome chainsaw. I'm Ronan. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you guys next time.